Hello again, everybody. Scott Golden here with the Pro Wrestling Logic YouTube channel and the World Class Championship Wrestling Review Series. We are in the middle of February 1986, February the 15th, day after Valentine's Day. Rough program here. A lot of, I wouldn't say a lot of interview segments, but more interview segments than normal. Also, some comments about Gino Hernandez, some first-run matches, lots of stuff. Anyway, Jack Victory and David Peterson up first, and they have done battle before. Victory still a guy that gives his all every time out, and a guy who really is an individual who is trying to do everything he can. Peterson uses power early and gets things going in a reasonable direction. Big arm drag there by Peterson, and goes right back to work on the arm of Victory. Several minutes of that. Victory takes amazing bumps for a relative rookie. I think he's in his second year now. Keeping going back to work on the arm. A really simple opening style match. Victory, whenever he gets an advantage, it's because he does some sort of illegal strike or cheating maneuver, and obviously he is a bona fide heel, working over the back and other body parts of his adversary, and that is also something he really doesn't care one way or the other about. Shots to the midsection here, and we go into a high cross body from Peterson. 1, 2, 3 gets the victory off the high cross body from the second rope. Then we move into some of the interview stuff. The first is the Most Inspirational Wrestler of the Year award being given by Bill After on behalf of the London publishing magazines, including Pro Wrestling Illustrated, being given to him. Basically, Kerry is there to help him accept it. Mike still, he looks rough. He'll be back before too long, a few more months. But he still looks rough. But the fans of Pro Wrestling Illustrated calling him the most inspirational wrestler of the year, obviously for making it through the near-death experience after the surgery. And that's credible and very real. More real life than a lot of pro wrestling ever is. We then see a tag team match, the 2/3 of the six-man tag team champions, Michael Hayes and Buddy Roberts, squaring off against Iceman, Parsons, and Mark Youngblood. Good match for what it is. Certainly there's history between the Freebirds and Parsons, has been for a while. Obviously, the Freebirds went all around the world, AWA, UWF, what was still Mid-South at the time, I think. Tried a cup of coffee less than a month in WWF, went all over the world, but came back to World Class for this time in 86. I did not realize they came back when they left, so this is news to me. Parsons says that he does not want everybody to jump them from behind like has happened in previous weeks on the microphone before we start the match. Buddy Roberts still back with the long blonde hair, strutting around only like a Freebird can. And then there's kind of the duck there, the go behind, and ultimately, we see what we can see as far as that's concerned, and headbutt by Parsons, and we then see an atomic drop on the floor, exaggerated atomic drop. Still, Buddy Roberts is not having a good go of it. Michael Hayes gets frustrated, and tags in. He hits one offensive maneuver and starts posing himself. Michael, certainly, I consider him to be one of the most underrated guys of all time when it comes to charisma. He bumps and feeds for the Iceman for quite a bit. Youngblood really isn't in the match a whole great deal of a lot. I don't know if that's by design or just the way the match shook out. The first several minutes of the match are all Parsons. New team, so maybe they're in kayfabe kind of ironing out the kinks. Not really sure what that's about, but Buddy Roberts back in there and kind of goes that way. Finally, Youngblood does gets in there, and does a war dance before drop kicking Buddy Roberts right under the chin. Roberts finds himself in what he would consider to be the wrong corner, sends his opponent, sends Roberts into that corner, and several chops, a series of them now by Youngblood. Youngblood obviously living up to those Native American, I don't know if you call them stereotypes, but they're there, and obviously that wouldn't play well today, but it's not today. This is 1986, and we were in a much different time in 86. Kick to the I guess front of the shoulder, and then we see Michael Hayes hitting on every level, and a tag off by both teams. Roberts and Youngblood back in there as the legal men. Roberts takes over on Youngblood with chops. It doesn't stay two men for long. All four men back in the ring. Michael Hayes sent outside by Iceman rather. Hayes does come back in the hard way via the top rope double axe handle, while Buddy has him across the shoulders, and Buddy Roberts gets the 1, 2, and the 3 count due to the double team. Then we move on to Superstars commenting. Michael Hayes comments, says that Gino Hernandez lived in the fast lane his entire life. It's hard to comment. Kerry Von Erich kind of never breaks kayfabe, but says that Gino's one of the toughest men he's ever been in the ring with, and kind of acknowledges that. David Manning, the referee, says that the fans will miss him, even though he wasn't always on the up and up. I mean, they do it classily. Chris Adams is now going to head back to England. They're still running with the angle he's blind from the fireball from a few weeks ago. They don't obviously acknowledge that it's Gino Hernandez that did it to him. That would be in poor taste. That would be tasteless. But he goes off into the sunset. We don't see Adams for I don't know how long, but I do know that when he comes back, and it's certainly a thing. After several months, I do not know the timing because I haven't seen all the way through. They do a music video, which obviously on the network has been dubbed over for the dynamic duo of Adams and Hernandez in light of the passing. And we will be back with more right after I grab my phone with your main event. Certain level of continuation. The Von Erich and Percy Pringle thing is starting to heat up just a little bit through Rick Rude. Rick Rude, obviously, a guy who is the, I believe, America's champion at this point, and Lance Von Erich, new to the area, but being placed in that with that Von Erich name, obviously expected to do a little bit more than your average new guy. Rude goes to town on him almost immediately. Can't even get out of the jacket, and drop kick by Von Erich. Not exactly the most endearing beginning to a match. The dropkick looks a little awkward. Rude rolls to the outside, easy for me to say, and goes to town pretty quickly on what's here. Percy Pringle looks nervous on the outside. Von Erich breaks down on the shoulder and arm of Rude for several minutes. We then kind of see a continuation of pull to the process, and we see just very basic stuff from Von Erich. Von Erich, I don't know a lot of his background. I do know he's brought in to be a cousin because the loss of Mike is not something that they were fully prepared for, and obviously now, especially with the Gino Hernandez loss, another thing they had to go through, but not a lot known about the Lance Von Erich character. Certainly, Rude is a guy who at this point, 1986, can pull anybody through. I mean, he's less than a year away from a WWF debut where he stays for 87 through 90, 91 in the largest North American territory in the world. So obviously he's there. And an interesting value to relationship story. It is Rick Rude that recommends the Percy Pringle, a.k.a. Paul Bearer, for a WWF role years later because of their relationship built here. And a lot of people are unfamiliar with that. Anyway, drop kick by Rude and Percy going nuts on the outside. They've only got a few minutes left, so the match is super simple. I think partially because Rude knows when to turn it up, but also knows when he doesn't have to. And Rude actually goes for the front face lock almost as though he's going to set up that Rude Awakening DDT, but instead he gets inverted atomic dropped. Von Erich goes nuts for a few minutes here. Big back body drop into the lights and into the ceiling, and that's kind of there all the way around. Von Erich is certainly, he's got him coming off, and things continue. Rude does break free of the sleeper hold and just barely gets the victory he thinks he needs or he finds he needs. But he just barely gets by, which I think is good in the sense of even though he gets a victory, there's that question. Can he operate? Can he get by? And I think when you have a heel champion that you're committed to, part of that can he get by is a major part of things. Rude's arm drops once, arm drops twice, and Rude just kicks back off the ropes. The referee goes down, and interesting finish because you could say that his arm was in the process of dropping the third time, actually. The referee, is in perfect position for that finish. A roll-up attempt, but Percy nails Lance with the cane from the outside, and Rude gets the victory that way. Percy and Pringle earning his keep, and we'll be back with more right after this.